I think that should be the intro, honestly.
100%. What's going on, college football fans? It is the Week 8 preview, Mac and Murray style. Welcome to the Mac and Murray College Football Show. We appreciate you joining us here today to get your mind right for what will be another amazing weekend of college football. If you haven't already, make sure you go back, check our other content out from the week, quarterback breakdowns, everything else. Go follow us on social media, Mac and Murray. Subscribe, like, and appreciate to everyone, including YouTube, for getting the boys back on YouTube, because
that's where I wanted to go. I was going to be like, are you acknowledging like we're back from the dead? Like, what are we doing here? Shout out to all the people involved with that. And I don't know who was the final straw or what, but thank you, everyone. And what was also cool, Aaron, we had a lot of people coming to bat for us, man, on social media. So appreciate you guys. And that means a lot, to both of us. So that was pretty neat to see.
Dude, even in a really scary moment. I woke up, so we shot our show, our review show of our recap show of week 7, late Saturday night. So went to bed, woke up early Sunday and was still tired from all the traveling and then shooting the late night show. So I woke up and I get this email. I check my emails real quick. And I see the email from YouTube, your show has been completely taken off YouTube because of spam. And I was like, oh, this must be a spam email. This isn't legit. I'm still kind of fuzzy. I'm tired, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, screw this stupid email, spam. So but whatever, let me just go check YouTube. Get on YouTube and our channel's gone. I was like, what the heck? Our channel's gone.
Just like that.
And it's
erased.
Pure panic for the next 24 hours.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. And it was funny too. I was in the same boat where I'm reading your text and I'm just like, what? What are we talking about? No, there's no way. And I did the exact same thing. And, I have a handful of things that I'm subscribed to, and Mac and Murray ain't up there. And I'm just like, what is happening? This is crazy.
See, I could get it if it was me and T-Bob back in the day because of some of the weird things we talked about. But I'm like, stuff. We keep it G. We're very professional. We just talk about football. What are we talking about? So I think it was just some silly bot on YouTube. I'm not trying to talk trash about YouTube because we're on YouTube right now and I don't want to get kicked off again. But I think it was just a silly bot that somehow decided to pick on us for a little bit. But glad we got in touch with a human to get us back and rolling because we need to give the people the Week 8 preview. So let's dive into it. We're going to be breaking down Ole Miss, Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, Louisville, Miami, Duke, Georgia Tech, LSU, Vandy, USC, Notre Dame. And then at the end, we're going to touch a little bit about what's going on in Penn State and who we think is going to take over for James Franklin. But let's start off first with one of the big games of the weekend. Ole Miss on the road against Georgia in between the hedges. Georgia had a 33 game winning streak come to an end against Alabama a couple weeks ago. Could it be 2 back-to-back losses between the hedges, E-Mac? I'll let you get first swing at this one. What are your initial thoughts as Georgia takes on and hosts Ole Miss this weekend?
Yeah, I'm fascinated by this line, because when we saw a week ago, Ole Miss was favored. I thought that was weird, but they did their thing and won the game. In this one, I thought surely the Rebels are going to be favored, and they are not. They're 7.5 point dogs as we record this on a Tuesday afternoon. That's crazy to me. That's insane. I think you look at Georgia. I'm not saying they're struggling. Football's hard, right? And the play in the conference, and it seems like at an all-time high right now, the talent distribution is at its best, and so everybody's good, right? But I don't know. I thought that was kind of funky. And I get kind of the letdown game that Ole Miss did kind of have a week ago. And they're flirting with Code Red.
It's a look-ahead game than a letdown.
It's exactly a look-ahead. I mean, they kicked the ball off at 10:50 a.m. I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing? So I think they're going to get their best shot. Listen, the status quo has not changed for the Bulldogs. Can you get a pass rush? Can you defend the pass? I mean, that's kind of been the biggest thing. And when you have a dynamic quarterback, like Trinidad, it's going to be an interesting plan of attack. Like, what does Georgia try to do? I do think it was funny though last week when Lane Kiffin's like, "Hey man, like chill with all the D2 stuff. Like we ain't doing that
Yeah.
anymore." Just some of the throws and things that he was making there. But I'm interested. Just again, that's the matchup I'm probably going to watch for the whole
Yeah.
season. What can Georgia do defensively to a team like this? And then on the other side, Georgia's offense should be fine. I mean, this is not your Ole Miss defense of the last couple of years that was dominant against the run, that had some werewolves to get to the quarterback. They just aren't that this year. And so I think that it will be relatively a shootout. I mean, maybe Georgia, Tennessee type vibes back and forth.
Well, and I get this question from Georgia fans this week is like, what kind of game does Georgia want? I'm like, well, Georgia has proven they can win any kind of game. Like they can win a ugly slugfest against Auburn on the road. They can win a high scoring affair against Tennessee on the road too. So I think they're comfortable going in either direction. I do tend to agree that this could be a little bit more of a higher scoring game. Because I mean, I look at Ole Miss and I look at what they did against LSU, a very good LSU. And you may say, like, oh, it was only 24 points. Yeah, but the stat line and how they move the football against what I would perceive as a better defense in Georgia, one of the best defenses in the country. Well, obviously, we'll get more about LSU and the Tigers when we break down their matchup against Vanderbilt. But Trinidad threw for over 300 yards. They ran for 166 yards. Trinidad ran for 71 of those 166 yards. So, like, they have proven that they can go against more talented individuals against a defense that has more talent than maybe what they have offensively. Yeah. And because of Lane Kiffin and what he can do schematically, because of what Trinidad can do both as a runner and a passer, can create yards. And I'll go back to just Trinidad just in general. I broke him down a few weeks ago after one of his early games just to kind of see who is he as a quarterback. Like, is he legit? Is he not? And I tell you what, if he was 6'1", 6'2", we'd be talking about him as one of the best quarterbacks in the country when it comes to not just college football, but maybe getting ready for the NFL draft next year. Maybe he wouldn't have gone D2 and been where he was if he was taller, but he's athletic. He's got a quick release. He can layer the football down the field. He can push the ball vertically down the field. Doesn't get sacked. They've only been sacked as a team 5 times this year. Protects it, only 1 interception on the season. So he is everything you want from a quarterback. Yeah. And then you match him up with Lane Kiffin, Lacey running the football as well. So like, I like this offense. Yeah. And we've seen Georgia even struggle defensively at home. Right. So it's not like they're just like ball busters inside Sanford Stadium. So I think Ole Miss can move the football. I think Ole Miss can score and have success on that side. But it goes to your point, can they stop Georgia? Right. And when I think about Georgia this year, and when Georgia's at their best, it's when they're just running the football. When Bowens is the guy, which I was still surprised he wasn't as getting as many touches as he did versus Auburn, but when he's the guy and they just line up and assert their will at the line of scrimmage, which I think they can do this game, that is when they are, like I said, they're at their best. And then when Gunner's running the football. So yeah. I think Georgia needs to lean on that style of football game, more ball control, more running it, and just wear down this Ole Miss defense. And I think if they do that, yes, they end up winning the football game. But I don't like the line, though, to be honest. I think Ole Miss can keep this thing close and this be another great 4-quarter battle between 2 SEC teams.
I agree. Couple of things there as you were rolling through when you were talking about ball busters at home. Like it was Alabama, right? Like it was the kryptonite of Georgia, a really good team that we think is one of the best in the country, and a quarterback that can stand in the pocket on 3rd down and deliver strikes. I mean, starting 8 of 8, 9 of 9, whatever it was on 3rd down, walking into that place at night. Not everybody's just walking in there and doing that. And so I do think there's a bit of that. I know it's a 3:30 game, so environment might be a little different, but still tough to do. And going back to the Georgia side, specifically offensively, but maybe it's the holistic team. Like, please do not start slow anymore. Like, can we get going? No. Can we have a plan? No. Can we have a grasp, of what this team wants to do where, we can play 4 quarters of solid football? Because if you don't, are you going to be able to come back if these guys at Ole Miss are able to score a couple of touchdowns quick and then just keep that offense, really rolling? And then I think, kind of what you said there about, Gunner running the football, that is when they're at their best. When Georgia's running it, when he's running it, you have the extra hat. What's the plan for Ole Miss? Are they going to load the box? Are they going to have a spy? Do you try to combat that? Do you take that guy out of coverage if you do spy? it's going to be a fascinating chess match, like it always is.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't
Well,
wait to see
and
it.
I think you go back to Ole Miss's defense. He is not obviously Taylor Green. I'm talking about Gunner here. He's not Taylor Green. Like the run plan and his ability is not the same. But Taylor ran for over 100 yards, so I think that is in the cards for Gunner to play a pivotal role. I think the big worry for me heading into the season for Gunner was like, okay, he doesn't. Georgia doesn't have necessarily the backups right now that have game experience that you feel confident in. But I will say, watching Georgia's backup quarterback this year, you do feel confident that if, knock on wood, you never want this to happen, if something did happen to Gunner where you're like, hey, we do want to utilize his legs more, we know there's a risk associated with that. But if Gunner does get banged up, I think Georgia now has more confidence in their number 2 guy to go out there and pick up and go out there and play. Obviously, very different, more of a passer than a runner. But I think you can go in there and like I said, have more confidence in a game plan that's heavy, a little bit more heavy with Gunner running the football. Another big stat to look at, and you talk about Georgia slow starts, this plays into it. Third down defense. Third down defense. Ole Miss, one of the best offenses in the country, converting over 50% of their third downs. Georgia, one of the worst, especially in the SEC, with giving up 40% of their third downs. Georgia has to get off the field because I think you brought up another good point. You could afford to get behind Auburn. Auburn has struggled offensively this year. I don't know if the game is played out like it was a week ago against this offense in Ole Miss, if it's going to be the same outcome.
Right.
If it's going to be the same outcome. Like you got to get off the field. You got to give your offense more opportunities in the first half. You got to start off fast, and you can't be playing from like obviously if it's within a touchdown, okay, whatever. But if you start getting down 2 scores against Ole Miss in the second half, it's not the same as being down 2 scores against Auburn a week ago. I don't think they can afford to do that once again this week. And I think too, at some point, it just gets mentally taxing to feel like you're always
Here we go
stressed
again.
out in the
Here we
second
got to
half.
do it again.
Here we go again.
I agree. So what are you thinking? Are you going Rebs here?
No. I'm
cover?
going Georgia wins. I do think, and we
Hey,
have to
listen,
be very
buddy, no
careful
one cares
with
who you think wins.
our
Are they gonna
graphics this week
cover
with the
or not?
betting. Yes, Ole Miss will cover
Okay.
the 7.5, but I think Georgia does win this game. Yes.
Yeah. And what do you think? What's the biggest X factor? Like, other than being, a bulldog, why does Georgia win this game? What do you think happens?
I do think being at home, I think their physicality running the football.
Yeah.
I think Georgia somewhat flips the script where they dominate time of possession the first half. Like that's what I think can happen. I think that's what should happen. Georgia's the team. You look at halftime, Georgia's had the ball for 17 minutes and Ole Miss has had it for 13.
Yeah.
And you feel like the defense finally didn't have to play entire half. The offense was on the field. And then you're like, okay, if they're able to do that in the first half, second half could be that, if not worse, for this Ole Miss defense. I think Georgia wears them down a little bit.
Yeah. And I kind of tend to agree with that as well. I think the run game from Georgia I think that hammers them just with the lackluster that we've seen kind of, from Ole Miss and the things that they're, giving up this year. And again, they're towards the bottom of the SEC in regards to yards given up, especially against the run there. So I'm with you. I'm actually going to say the Dogs cover. I'm going Bulldogs.
Ooh.
So call me a Clemson Bulldog over here.
Okay. All right. We both got the Dogs going on and getting the new win streak going in Athens. All right. Let's get to one of the biggest rivalries in the SEC. Tennessee going to Alabama. And I'll start with you first on this one. Can Joey Aguilar,
Come on,
that
Joey.
high-powered offense, get enough fireworks to win one against the Crimson Tide?
Yeah, here's the deal. They have the number 1 offense in the SEC, right? Like Tennessee's rolling. And this is shocking to me, right? When you see what they had coming into this thing, to be averaging almost 530 yards a game is just so impressive. And I mean, it is so hard to tell, right? Like the cat was at App State, started at community college. Like, what are we talking about? This guy's going to come in the SEC and roll? Yeah, that's what he's doing. And that's what he's done. And it's looked really, really fun. But the opposite side of that coin is your defense stinks. Like this defense is the worst passing defense in the entire conference. And I think Alabama exploits that big time. I mean, We're seeing a guy in Ty Simpson who, after that first week, has played so close to perfect. It's been unbelievable. The way he's seeing the game. I do, want to clean up the sacks a little bit, that little on him, little on the offensive line. Because I do think that can catch up with you, the hits that you take over the course of a year here. But it's going to be fascinating just to see, how these guys attack them. Because I have to think it's through the air a lot. Obviously, paying attention to Jam's health. Jam Miller, the running back for Alabama, is he full ready to go? Because if not, it seems like we were so excited going into last week that, okay, here we go. Here's the balanced identity. Here's the run game that's going to just help take these guys to another level. Then he exits early in the fourth quarter against Missouri last week. So that's one big thing I'm paying attention to. And then it felt like the defense last week, particularly in the second half, found a little bit of a groove, found a little bit of a rhythm, and against Vanderbilt as well. And so are they ready for this task that is going to be the Tennessee offense coming to town here? We'll see. The last time we saw Tennessee on the road, they went to overtime with Mississippi State. Are they ready for this environment? 100,000 plus, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I also think part of Alabama's run identity, and I know a lot has to obviously go through Jam Miller, but I think a lot has to be to the fact that they are throwing the ball so well.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that you can just plug and place any running back in there and they're going to have success right now. But if I'm a defense, I'm the number one thing I'm worried about Alabama. You couldn't say this after week one, but I do think you have to say it now is Ty Simpson and these receivers. And it's not just Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard, because they've shown that hey, we don't even need our top two guys to go out there and throw for a bunch of yards and touchdowns. Like, they are deep and talented at that receiving position. So I think that helps create these advantageous running lanes where you've seen Jam Miller take advantage of that. So I don't think necessarily if he can't go, it's a massive drop to where the running game is completely different. Will it be as good? No, I agree. It will not be as good, but I don't think it's okay, we're back to week one, can't run the football and we have to rely solely on the passing game to go out there and have some success. But, back to this Tennessee defense, I think that Tim Banks is very aggressive. That he's built the identity of this defense, and for the majority of those years of being, we're going to bring 5, we're going to bring 6, we're going to get exotic, we're going to do a bunch of stuff. And this is the balance that now you have to worry about with Alabama is you can't sit back and just rush 4. You just can't. You're not good enough to be able to get pressure with just 4 guys. And Ty Simpson, if you give him the ability to sit in the pocket and play 7-on-7, he's going to torch you. But the problem is if you bring pressure and you leave one-on-ones, then it could be an explosive play just like that. That this is a dilemma right now. You said it. You're playing a quarterback that is playing as good, if not better, than anyone else in the country. He's seeing the field extremely well. He's maneuvering around the pocket well. He can run when he needs to. He's accurate with the football. He's got elite playmakers. I know it's like I'm saying they're an NFL team, for goodness sakes, over here. But unless you have 4 dudes up front that can create pressure and then be able to play coverage on the back end, you will not be able to stop this offense.
Right.
You won't, and you can't. I don't care what league you're in, NFL, the college, the high school, when you face a passing attack with a quarterback that's playing at this level and receivers that are this talented, you will not be able to slow them down unless you can win with 4 up front. Tennessee does not have that. So I don't care if Tim Banks wants to bring 6. I don't care if he wants to drop 8. I don't care if he wants to engage 8 and just have 3 guys back there. You will not be able to slow down this offensive passing attack. So the only way Tennessee has a chance in this game is to score a bunch of points. And can they do that? Yes, because Joey Aguilar is playing at a very high level. Brazel and Staley and Matthews are playing at a high level. This is the number 1 passing offense in the SEC. It's the number 1 scoring offense in the SEC. To me, the game plan from this staff is, boys, loosen up them hamstrings because we letting it fly today. There is no holding back. We're letting this thing go. We're letting it go early and often. I think this is a game where you have to either throw 5 touchdowns or maybe even throw 3 picks.
Yeah. Right.
Because you just got to you cannot play conservative in this game if you're Tennessee, I don't think. Because like I said, I don't think your defense can hang.
Right.
I think offensively it's got to be fireworks.
Yeah. And can Alabama's, and the interesting thing about that is they are the number 1 pass offense, but they're pretty good at running the football too. And Alabama is towards the back end of the SEC, actually towards the bottom at run defense. And so do you play game control? Is your best defense?
But they never play game control. Tennessee is not a game control team.
Maybe you do. Maybe you beat Bama at Bama. I don't
No,
know. I don't know.
no.
Could be
I don't think
interesting.
you change your identity and like all of a sudden Tennessee's like
I don't think
slow
it's
to the line
changing.
of
They're running for
scrimmage.
270 a game. I mean, it's not like we're
I'm
changing it.
not saying
It's
from like a
just
running standpoint, from
yeah,
like a even when they're running the football, they're
explosive.
still not owning time of possession. Like they're still trying to score fast as heck.
Right.
So I think this is Joey. See it, throw it, do not second guess it.
Right.
It's not a game to worry about mistakes. You're facing on the road one of the best teams in the country, one of the best offenses in the country that's going to score points against your offense.
Yeah.
And listen, maybe Tennessee gets a turnover or two. Like we haven't seen Ty Simpson be reckless with the football. Even go back to that pick first Vanderbilt was not his fault.
Yeah.
It was a bad route. I think it was a bad play design as well. Like this dude is just playing at a different level with every aspect of his game where it's hard to just bank on like, oh, maybe this is a game that he's going to play bad. Like I'm not banking on that.
Yeah.
I'm banking on the fact that he's probably going to throw another 4 touchdowns and throw for about 300 yards.
Right.
And I got to match that if I'm Joey Aguilar.
That's going to be the fun part. Like, can both of these quarterbacks elevate their level of play? Are they ready for this moment? And I think yes. I can easily see this being a back and forth, maybe not overtime, but very close to, like we saw Georgia, Tennessee. I mean, those guys made plays when they needed it. Absolutely, needed it there. And I think these two quarterbacks got it. It's been fun to see for sure. And Ty, I think he has the opportunity here to take a really big step forward, like to be that Heisman favorite with the numbers. They keep going the way they do against the ranked opponents. He's got a big time opportunity here in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, I think I don't know what's the line. I have Alabama
9.5. 9.5. Bama.
I think this is a Tennessee Georgia-esque football game. I think Tennessee covers. I think Alabama wins. I think Alabama wins by a touchdown.
Yeah. Be fascinating to see if it moves come Friday, Saturday. Man, I think Bama's better. I think that their pass defense will really hold strong. I think that'll be a really interesting fracture point where you just said it. Don't change what we do. I think you should and run the football. I don't know if you necessarily want to keep up. You look at Georgia's offense, you look at Bama's offense right now. There's a clear winner of that battle, and you went shot for shot with Georgia. I don't think that's the same animal that Bama is right now. And so I'm going to go the Tide to cover. I picked 2 teams to cover in a row. I don't know if I like it. All
right, there we go. But both of us have Alabama winning the football game. All right, let's go to a massive ACC matchup on Friday night. Louisville on the road against the Miami Hurricanes, our number 1 team in the country. Miami, talk about like Heisman moment. Friday night, good opponent. Carson Beck coming off his best game of the season against FSU. Another opportunity for him to cement himself in that conversation, and obviously as one of the best quarterbacks in America as well. I was watching a lot of Louisville tape this morning, and heading into the season, they were kind of one of my sleepers in the ACC. I was like, you know what?
Yep.
You got 2 great running backs coming back for their sophomore years. I love the fact they went and got Miller Moss in the offseason from USC. That's a great guy to get to play in this offense. Very much a ball control, run it, play action pass, throw the football type system. And then I watch them and I'm like, where's the run game? Where are these running backs? What's going on? And to look up and see that they're 12th in the ACC in rush offense, 3.83 yards per carry, only 150 yards per game.
Yeah.
It's not been who their identity is, and that worries me a lot going against Miami.
As it should. And I think that the reason for that, though, a little bit banged up, maybe some other stuff going off the field, but they have not been themselves. They have not been the 2 running backs that we saw a year ago. And you saw Isaac Brown flash a little bit last week, but that was more as a receiver, and what he did in the pass game wasn't really on the ground, where a year ago, anytime this guy touches the rock, you're holding your breath thinking he can go, to the house. And that just hasn't been the case. I think the offensive line is, significantly worse as well, which obviously hurts everything involved.
I think that's the biggest issue is the offensive line.
Well, that and hurt, and maybe they got hurt because of the offensive line. They're not blocking for him. Guy gets
it's always the
clobbered.
offensive fault.
It usually is, and we're fine with that. But I think the interesting point about this, and I just got done talking talking with Akeem Mesidor, the very talented defensive end for Miami, a day ago. They're excited for this opportunity. Like Louisville's going to throw it. They're going to throw it 30, 40 times. And that's really the first time that Miami has faced an offense of this caliber. And so they're like, yeah, let's go to work. Like, let's put our ears back and let's go hunt. And him and, Ruben Bain, who's the highest graded PFF player in the country. Like, this guy is playing absolutely out of his mind. Now we can see them go. And it's not like it's Tommy Castellanos back there. It's not Gunnar Stockton. That this guy, a little bit of an athlete, but he ain't moving around. He's not a guy that you're afraid and fearful of if you miss your gap or if you get outside your rush lanes that can, just kill you with his legs. So I'm fascinated to see that matchup. And inversely, on the other side of that coin, is the defensive backs are going to be tested like they haven't been tested all year long. Yeah. And so Chris Bell, I think, is great. Eddie Royal loves Chris Bell. I think he can emerge into a first-round pick. And Colin Lacey was a 1,500-yard receiver a couple years ago. He faced injuries last year. Those guys have the ability. Will they have the time? I don't think so. And if you're not balanced, you can't run it. I mean, those guys are going to be teeing off defensively for Miami.
Yeah. My big worry is like, I like Bell. I mean, obviously, if you're going to win some one-on-ones, he's going to be down the outside. But that's not Miller Moss's game. Like if you watch Miller Moss for the past year and a half, his game is more the intermediate stuff. He's not the most gifted passer vertically down the field. A lot of it is within that 10 to 15-yard range where ball's coming out, which may be, kind of what you need to do against Miami, because I don't know if you want to drop back, 7-step drop, 2 hitch, throw the ball vertically down the field. So maybe this does match up where like, hey, our identity is obviously we're not going to completely abandon the run. We have to give some sort of presentation because we do enough play action pass to show that we are willing to run the football. But Miller gets the ball out on time, in rhythm. He's very accurate with the football. And like I said, they may not even have the opportunity to throw the ball vertically down the field. So, when you look at them and how they win this football game, we've said it with a couple of these other teams, like when you're a football team that has a disadvantage when it comes to talent, which let's be honest, Louisville does in this game against Miami, can you hold on to the football? Mm-hmm. Can you own time of possessions? And that goes to Miller Moss being accurate within those 10 to 15 yards. But that does allow Miami to kind of say, you know what? One, this guy isn't as talented throwing the football down the field. Not saying he can't, but that's not his game. We can play tight.
Right.
Like I think they themselves, they're not going to just sit back and let Miller Moss pick them apart and play soft zone coverage. Like I expect Miami to be in their face, making life difficult, and know that, hey, man, our defensive line is going to be able to get after it. If he does do 2 or 3 hitches against an offensive line that has struggled this season, Bain and company are going to get after him.
Right.
So 100%. I just think at the end of the day, if the run game was more balanced for Louisville, in which those defensive ends and defensive line couldn't just rear back and feel like they can get after the quarterback, I think you may have an opportunity to own some of that time of possession, keep Miami's offense off the field. But without the ability to run the football, I just think
it's hard.
Miami's going to play uber aggressive defensively.
That's what I would do. And listen, both these teams coming off bye weeks. And so were you able to get your guys relatively healthy? Were you able to give them some time? We're at that point in the season where maybe not. It's not just going to happen, kind of overnight. If you've been banged up all year, one week off, one weekend off, probably is not helping, too much at this point. And I think the interesting thing about what you said there too, I'm for sure going, man, I'm disrupting timing. I'm pressing. I'm being aggressive. I don't want him dropping back at the top of his route and a guy finding a window. I want to be on you. I want him to think. I want his eyes to have to come down for a second. And then it's a party in the backfield for those guys. And then offensively, look, for the course of the year, Louisville's defense has been pretty good. I mean, they're amongst the middle top of the ACC there, but you look at opponents, you look at who they've played and what they have done, against their ACC comrades here, it's a little bit different. And the defense has looked a little bit different. And I think, you and I have been on top of this since game 1. Like, Miami is very balanced. They know what they want to do. They have the ability to run it and clearly throw it at a very high clip. How do you want to die is essentially the pick you have to make. Are you going to load up the box? You're going to drop in coverage. Either way, it's not a great option for you. We saw that's what Florida State wanted to do. They loaded up the box. They said, you are not going to run the ball effectively on us. Carson Beck said, no worries, no problem. I'll just take it over the top.
You have to be able to out physical Miami if you want to compete with them. And not even out physical, you have to be able to match their physicality at the lines of scrimmage. And I just don't think that there are many teams out there, if any, maybe not if any, but there's a handful at best of teams that can match what they present at the lines of scrimmage, that can then protect themselves on the back end, just like we talked about with Alabama going against that offense. Can you match physicality in the front defensively while still being able to play coverage? And while Louisville's been really good stopping the run, I don't know if they're that physical enough to be able to stop the run with a light box against Miami.
Right.
Exactly. And like I said, Miami's shown the ability. You kind of allude to it. Like, if you want to bring pressure, Carson's coming off his best game of the season with 4 touchdowns against FSU on the road. Yeah. If you want to go light box, they'll just continue to hand the football off and run it. So it's just my only question with Miami in this football game. And it kind of feels like somewhat Georgia-esque in a different way, because like we're going to like, can Georgia start off fast and just play 4 quarters of football? It's kind of the reverse. Miami, it feels like every single game, Miami comes out in the first half and just dominates, where it looks like, oh my gosh, like this could be a bloodbath. Yeah. And then they just hit the brakes a little bit, just kind of put it in neutral and like, hey, we're in cruise control throughout the rest of this game. And, for people who don't watch them, like, oh, it was a close game against Florida State. Oh, it was a close game against Notre Dame. Oh, it was a close game here. It's like, man, if you watch the game, like that game was never, ever in doubt. Yeah. They dominated. The box score does not really show that, but it would be nice if for once the box score did match what we saw with our eyes.
I agree.
And I think for me, this is a great time on a Friday night. A lot of people will be watching this football game. A lot of people that maybe haven't watched as much Miami football as they should kind of see a team that looks the part, and it obviously finishes that way too with a dominant victory against the Cardinals.
Completely agree with you. That's my number one key in this game. And not saying that they're going to blow these guys out, but it's a 13.5 point spread. So clearly Vegas thinks that they're 2 touchdown favorite, and they're flirting with that. So if and when you get up by that point, don't let them back in. I totally agree with you. Flex your muscles, show everybody, because here's the interesting thing that's already started by all your little SEC friends. Ohio State, Indiana, Miami do not play a ranked team for the rest of the year in the regular season. It matters how you win and what it looks like. You have to make statements, especially when you don't have this imaginary fun number beside the opponents that you play.
Yeah, well, I think they get it. I'll take Miami. That's my first one where I think Miami lays the points there, 13.5. I'll take Miami.
I think I'm with you, and maybe I'm just being uber confident right now, and I'm just an idiot. We'll find out. But give me the Canes to cover as well.
All right, a ranked team that Miami may face at some point this season, Duke or Georgia Tech, squaring off against each other there in Blue Country. The Duke Blue Devils. I had the
Blue Country.
Blue Country. I'm trying to figure out like a good way to kind of say it. Basketball. I don't want to say basketball country because they're a good football.
Oh, please don't. Bull City. Durham. Bull City.
Yeah, Bull City. There you go. Duke, been rolling, playing great. Darian Mensah has been terrific. I mean, I had them versus Tulane about a month or so ago, and it just was not their best outing, unfortunately, on either side of the football, which may concern you if you're, looking at Duke's defense. We'll get to that matchup, but overall right now, I like both these teams. I think they're both good football teams. I think this is going to be a great football game. 2 of the top quarterbacks, not only in the ACC, but in the country. You got great playmakers and great running backs on both sides as well. I think this is a very even matchup and going to be one of the more exciting games of the weekend.
Yeah, it really is. And what's fascinating? Again, we talk about these imaginary numbers. Georgia Tech, undefeated, number 12 team in the country, top 10 in our playoff poll, or our McEnmurray poll, by the way. We think these guys are really good. Whatever reason, Vegas has Duke favored, 1.5 point favorites. ESPN, FPI, whatever, matchup predictor, 62% in favor of Duke. This, to me, is fascinating. It's fascinating.
I'm leaning Duke. I'm going to
pop
at
this
it a
point.
little bit early.
Who do you think's going to win? And I love what you're saying about Darian Mensah, because again, I brought up PFF a little while ago. He's the number 1 quarterback by a pretty good margin when it comes to their records and what he's doing right now, amongst the best in the country, pushing the ball downfield. And I think what helped him take another step was the run game opening up. Exactly
Yeah.
what you kind of said about Alabama. They've thrown it so much. Now the run game, now the pass game can be even more complementary and things can open when you have a true freshman in Nate Shepherd running the ball as effectively as he has. And here's going to be the interesting thing. I said this about Tennessee, and maybe should they try this against Alabama? Duke might want to consider this too. Georgia Tech is very bad right now at stopping the run. I know you have Mensa. I know you love that guy and you want to throw it, but you might want to dip your toe in running the freaking football and running it a lot and playing this adverse game of, game control, ball control, what Georgia Tech used to do to everybody when they're running the triple option. You're not going to touch this ball.
I don't know if they're going to get too much away from their identity though, but I will say that
that's
go back
what
to that
balance is
game.
though, bud. Like when a team stinks at something, I'm exploiting it. That's why we were so good. That's why y'all were so good. If you saw things, your coach was going to attack.
What is your strength though? Like your strength is throwing the football. So unless your strength is not something that is going to get it done, like Darian Mensah and those receivers are lead. But I do want to hit in the run game. Like you bring up Nate Shepherd, and through the first 3 games of the season, he had 5 carries. Then the Tulane game had another 5 carries, but for 75 yards. And they said, you know what? This is our RB1. We're going with him. After that, it was 14 carries, 15 carries, 12 carries. Like he has now become the guy. So I do like the fact that, yes, there is now balance on this offense when there wasn't before, when it kind of seemed like it was all on Darian Mensah to go out there and earn that whatever outrageous salary that he's making this year. Hey, we're paying you a bunch of money. You got to throw the ball 50 times a game. You know what? That's the only way that we can, tell our boosters that you're worth the money if we just throw the ball 80%. And now you're getting some balance, which is helping him play at the elite level that we're talking about. But it's hard when you look at their receivers and you see Barcate playing at a high level, Brown, Hagans, like they have speed. I mean, for those who watched our show back, when we talked about them early in the season, when I watched the Duke tape, even against Illinois, I'm like, dude, this team's got speed. Speed. They got receivers that can take the top off of defense. They got a quarterback that can push the ball down the field. They got a quarterback that can be creative in the pocket and win with his legs as well. So I don't think they're going to necessarily get away from that, but I do love the balance offensively with the ability to run the football. So can they score one way or the other against Georgia Tech? I think so. I think they can. The big question is, can Duke, who when I had them versus Tulane, Jake Retzloff went off for 111 yards on the ground and 4 touchdowns. Right. Can they find a way to stop Haynes King? Yeah. Can, Vincent Anthony and company on the defensive line find a way to slow down one of the best, most aggressive, everyone's favorite Haynes King? That's going to be the big question.
Yeah, it is. And, looking at what they do, I mean, that's such a monumentous piece of the puzzle, right? Like Haynes is the guy. He's the catalyst. He's going to be the guy that, really does everything. But I think what was dramatically important a week ago was the emergence of Malachi Hosley, kind of the third option, if you will, running the football, where there's a little less pressure, on Haynes. There's a little less pressure on Jamal to be able to tote the rock, because you got this guy too, and that's fun, especially if you can have a split back sec, have all 3 of those guys as an option. Man, it gives you all kinds of fits. And the interesting thing too with, how Buster does stuff, and I know you love watching his tape, there is so much the quarterback is responsible for that tries to get eye violations, try to stress the defense and put them in adverse situations where it's pre-snap, it's alignment, it's formation, motion, but also post-snap too. That they do so much misdirection. One of my favorite things I saw from the past weekend, they did have a split back set and a tight end in the backfield, an H-back. H-back goes across in a motion. He goes across this way. Running back to his left goes to his right on a flat route. And then there's a zone read in the middle of it. And you just got guys looking everywhere. He dumps it off to the running back for a 60-yard gain. I mean, it's just nuts to see how they stress those guys and put them in those type of situations. I think that this game will be won by Haynes' arm. Like if he can be effective,
which he's been great this year. He
has been great.
Greatly improved as a passer.
If he's 70% plus, Georgia Tech will win this game.
Well, which he's been all year. He's been 71% completion this season. He is just incredible what he's done as a passer to go along what he does as a competitor and, as we know, as a runner. So, I mean, I love both these teams. I really like the balance in the passing attack of Duke and those playmakers. I think their defense will be ready at home. I said, I'm torn. I think Vegas understand, like, this to me is a true pick 'em. Like, I think both teams are good enough to win this football game. So I'll lean on, even though I like Georgia Tech so much, I'll lean on
Yeah.
the fact that Duke is home, and I'll go with Duke in the win.
Probably matters. It probably matters. And again, just where is Georgia Tech mentally? Are they reading any part of the press clippings, or are they just putting their heads down? If I'll say this again, if Duke commits to running the football, they can win this. If they
Yep.
don't, I think Georgia Tech wins, by a field goal, by a late score, something of that nature. I'll go the Yellow Jackets. We'll keep going back and forth here with this. I
Nice.
like
I
this.
love it. I love it. All right, let's get to a couple more games real quickly before we get a little James Franklin talk. LSU versus Vanderbilt, the Commodores. LSU, decent victory against USC, South Carolina, not Southern Cal. We'll talk about Southern Cal next. South Carolina this past week. Vandy coming off a bye after losing to Alabama. And I'll start with LSU first. I thought Garrett looked healthier this past week. There are still some times where, like, one of the interceptions across, deep cross route, you could see he was protecting his body as he threw it. Ball sailed, ended up being an interception by the safety. You're just like, okay, still, he's not fully there, but I saw some progress for him after the bye week. So does he continue to move in the right direction of getting healthier, throwing the football? But I will say that he found his playmaker, though. Trey'Dez Washington, 6'7", big old tight end, had a monster game, 8 receptions, 119 yards. They move him around a ton. They put him in the slot. They motion him. They single him up backside. For those that remember the first game of the season, they just kept force feeding him versus Clemson over and over again. It wasn't always successful, but got a lot of pass interference calls against the big 6'7" guy. So, Vandy's going to have to find a way to get multiple bodies on him because, I love the tight end body. And when you got a guy that's 6'7" that's playing with some confidence, you can't single him up. Garrett, I don't care how, injured you are, he's going to find a way to put the ball somewhere in his vicinity to make a play. So I still worry about this offense. The offense, the inability to run it consistently. They were a little bit better last week versus USC, but still a lot of runs that were stopped at the line of scrimmage. I still don't know how I feel about this offense. I still think they're trying to figure it out a little bit.
I know it is. It's going to be interesting to see, and do they get Anderson back? Do they get their talented receiver ready and able to go? Who's available? Just from the attack, because it's drastically different when those guys can't go and when they're unavailable to see there. I was impressed with the defense, obviously a week ago, what they did to Lenore specifically, and how well does that prepare you for this game?
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see. Inadvertently, we saw a Virginia Tech team. It didn't help them because they played USC first, then they played Vandy, and Vandy hammered them. Vandy took all that and then some. But can you learn from that? Can you take similar things from what you did against South Carolina defensively and get Pavia and bottle them up? I think clearly you're going to have to, defend that big tight end and Stowers that is fun to watch, and he's going to cause some mismatch issues. But can Vandy run the football? I think that's going to be their biggest,
which I think they can. Like, I love LSU's defense. Both Weeks brothers playing at a high level, Perkins playing at a high level. The DBs have been great all year. They're flying around, they're making plays. I just think Vandy, just like we talked about Georgia Tech, there's so much eye candy, there's so much eye discipline, there's so much they present to you where I think they're going to be able to make plays. And what was their big issue against Bama? Just silly mistakes where I think Diego was playing a little bit too emotional, and he always plays emotional. I think that's part of his what makes him so good. But I think he was a little bit too extra, with some of the pregame talk.
There's so much around the game.
There's just too much. I think it was like, Diego, man, like, you ain't Johnny, bro. Just play football.
You don't want to be
just
Johnny.
play football.
You want to be Diego.
Enough of that nonsense. Just get out there and be that. And I think he needs to limit a lot of the outside noise, talking, all that stuff, and just go out there and be the ball player that we've seen him play for the past year and a half. So I like their defense. I think their defense is good, maybe not great. So it comes down to, like, do we trust LSU's offense more, or do we trust Vanderbilt's defense more?
Right.
Could be the big difference in this game.
It'll be interesting. Vandy's favored 2.5 at home.
Wow. I like Vandy.
Pretty crazy.
I think especially coming off the bye, I think they're healthy. I think, Diego's calmed down a little bit. I like him on both sides of the football. I think they present enough. I think they're going to be able to, using the bye week, scheme some stuff open against this LSU defense. I think they can create enough plays on offense to score some points where I still, and it's frustrating to say this, still don't know if I fully trust Garrett Nussmeier right now. He threw another 2 picks last week too.
Crazy.
Like, he's looking better. He's still had 2 big turnovers and 1 in the red zone.
Yeah. It is baffling to see where we started, where we were preseason, where we were week one to this, relative free fall. And yet still they're in the top 10 in the
Yeah.
entire country. I'm gonna go LSU money line. I think this defense steps up. I think they get after Diego, and I think that frustrates him and causes him to make some bad plays, some silly plays there that ultimately lead to points for the LSU Tigers.
Ooh, all right. We are way opposite this whole week.
We are. Someone's going to look like an idiot. I don't know who it's going to be.
Or we'll just split them all. Then we'll just be even. All right. We'll do this one real quick. Just give big level thoughts first. I'll let you go first. USC on the road against Notre Dame. USC coming off a massive win against Michigan. And Notre Dame seems to be clicking on both cylinders finally on offense and defense, led by CJ Carr. Just your high-level thoughts on both teams and who you like in the matchup.
Yeah, it's interesting. This quarterback play in this game is going to be really fun to watch. I mean, two offenses that are extremely well prepared, execute at a high level, push the ball downfield, run the ball very effectively. And you've got a guy in Carr that I've just been in love with his game. I mean, he is playing at a really, really high level.
Who called it after week 2?
You did.
Your boy. Come on now.
I was looking at you like, I don't know, buddy. But yeah, he's been playing at a really high level. And then you look on the other side and JM there, it's been fun to see him push the ball downfield, and a guy that's at almost 1,900 passing yards and just playing at a very electric level. The thing I think that maybe is a little bit of the difference is it feels like the last 3 weeks we've seen the Notre Dame defense start to look like what we thought it might look like for the entire year. Those guys are playing at a really high level. But I was also impressed with USC last week and what they did to Michigan. Just punched them straight in the face. Didn't think that'd be the case.
But it is a very one-dimensional Michigan team, as we've known all year. And I think the difference in this game is, at least from a Notre Dame offense against USC defense, is Notre Dame, yes, I love CJ. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in America. Been saying that since the second week of the season. You just watch the tape, you're like, man, this kid's very, very gifted throwing the football. Yeah. But let's not forget they have Jeremiah Love, the best running back in America too, and I think an offensive line that they can lean on. So it is a very balanced attack. Reminds me a lot of similar to what Miami can do. Maybe not as good the receiving position as Miami, but I just don't know. For USC to sell out against Michigan, that's easy to do. You can't just sell out against the run against Notre Dame because CJ Carr and that passing attack is going to eat you alive. And this is both these teams. I mean, I think USC is 101. Notre Dame is 104 when it comes to pass defense in the country. I think it is a good football game. I think both of them are a little bit better than that, but I will lean Notre Dame to win this football game behind CJ Carr at home. And I think it's supposed to be a little bit bad weather too. So I think that's even more favored to Notre Dame. Yeah. And USC is one of their top 2 running backs. They're going to be, King Miller, who looked good a week ago. Right. Walk on is going to be their starting running back. So they're out 2 top guys as well.
Yeah. Does Notre Dame cover 8.5?
No, I think USC covers.
Let's just keep being opposites. I think Notre Dame rolls. I think their defense is playing really well right now. I think they win by a touchdown, 2 touchdowns. I think they win by 14. I like it. I like the way they're playing.
I think weather will be dependent. If it's decent, I think Miami's just he's so damn good, and they got the best receiver in the country in Lemon, who I think could have himself another big time ball game as well. All right, let's get real quickly. Just give me your top 3 possible replacements for James Franklin.
You want to know who I think's getting it? And I hate this because they'll be leaving my conference. Manny Diaz. I think Manny Diaz is the guy. I think that people loved him there so much that I think they're going to do it. Now, do you swing for the fence and go for some big dogs? Sure. But I think Manny's a great get. I think he's a big dog in his own right. And I think that is kind of like a culture thing, a defensive mind, a guy that's going to have it going on. I think Manny Diaz is the guy. I think Kurt Cignetti, you swing for the fences and try to get him with what he's done. I don't like the Matt Rule thing. I get the alumni piece. I don't know about that.
I think if you get Kurt Cignetti, I mean, that's number 1, no doubt about it. You swing for Kurt Cignetti. Yeah. I do like Manny Diaz. Another one that I keep hearing a lot about is Joe Brady, offensive coordinator for the Bills. Used to be an offensive analyst for Penn State, had a lot of success there. Obviously, offensive creativity, something that Penn State has not had. Obviously, does not have the head coaching pedigree at all, but has created some incredible offenses dating back to his time, obviously, at LSU too. So that's an interesting one to keep your eye on. Joe Brady, offensive coordinator.
What do you think about Al Golden? What about Al Golden getting back as a head coach? He's a DC for the Bengals right now. I think he played there too. No, doesn't float your boat.
I think it depends. You want offense, you want defense. If you want defense, then Manny Diaz. If you want offense, you take a chance on a guy like Joe Brady, who's created some pretty explosive offenses. So, but still, at the end of the day, if you can get Kurt, you get Kurt Cignetti. Freaking all day long. You open up as much money as you need to open up to pay for that dude. All right. Well, that is it here at the Mac and Murray College Football Show. We appreciate y'all tuning in. Have a great rest of your week. And don't forget, on Thursday, we'll be doing our big game breakdown. We're actually going back to this Notre Dame USC game and going to have a good time talking with, who's our special guest? You got him.
Brady Quinn. Let's go.
Brady freaking Quinn, the most beautiful quarterback after me ever played the game of football. So we'll be back with Brady Quinn and our big game breakdown on Thursday. Until then, have a great one, y'all.
Okay.